Hey everybody, what's up? What's up? We're back. We're back. Analysis stream Thursday. New Star Trek Fleet Command sponsorship. That's for me. Whoa, 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 whoa. I just want to dismiss that. Okay. So, Mr. Coffee, Star Trek Fleet Command. So what do we got here? Asterbait versus Borislav Ivkov. No, we've got Mr. Geller versus Ivkov. Asterbait against Geograph. A. Morales back to the stream since last week. And Nefedov back as well. Good to see you guys. Regulars and VIPs. The best tournament that I've ever played in was 1950. A waiter came to you during the game, and you could order anything. Yeah, this is a very famous one. That quote. Alright, so we're going to start with Asterbait's game. Why is my opening explorer turned off? Alright. So, Asterbait, you were black in this game. Alright, we'll change that. Geller's white, Morales is white. Nefedov is white. Oh, that's weird. Okay. Geographical. So what's up, guys? Gigantobear. Gigantosaurus. Gigantobear is back. Nice game yesterday. Beat me the first time, but you're not going to beat me the second time. I'm going to get revenge next time. Asterbait, what's up? So, we got, what do you got here? I haven't seen this. This is a little bit of a warm-up game. Asterbait. Nem. Hungarian. The geographical Asterbait. All right, and then we've got Mr. Slow submitting a game from Geller's book. Of course, now I can't remember the title. No, I have to look for that. Arsenal fan. I want to call you Analysis fan. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Analysis fan Rich. All right. Analysis fan Rich. I'm like literally typing that now. There's too many Arsenal fans in here anyway. How many are there? Arsenal fan. So many of them. An endless supply of Arsenal fans. There's an arsenal of Arsenal fans. United Nations. He's a peacekeeper. Okay, I apparently I didn't block you, did I? Wait, compose message. Alright, here. Hi. Interesting Sicilian. Alright. As long as it's not against me. I'm like the little bears. The fable of the three little bears. If it's like hot, it's too hot. If it's too cold, I can't get the right temperature in my office. I'm either like too hot or too cold. It's never just right. No bear, no, I don't mean anything bad about bears. They're not too picky or anything. Nothing intentional there, Gigantobear. But I just like turned off the air conditioner, and then I'm like hot. And if I turn it back on, I'm like freezing. So no matter what I do. Gigantobear speaking Hungarian to me. Games where people played good or people played bad. Yeah, they always send me the games. Usually everyone sends me the games they win. I get very few, losses submitted, of course. So we got this. All right, we'll add this. So I'll do what I've been doing, up to 10 games, a stream, and subscribers only. So every time I open a new board, there's no analysis, no opening book. You only submit losses. Well, you're the rare exception. We'll do, whoever's here first. Mr. Slow's usually here in time, but I do Asterbait to warm up, then we get the Mr. Slow game, which is like a serious Grandmaster game from Geller, and then we'll do, you know, the Arsenal fan, Nefidov, Morales, in order of whoever's here, so everybody's happy. But I like the analysis stream because it's like low stress. I don't like, you know, I don't like playing anymore. All right, we got Astrobate first, a little lighter one. Oh no, Gigantobear. Gigantobear sent me a loss. Oh, Gigantobear against Gigantobear's opponent. So this is very highly detailed information. View on Lichess. Just get PGN. Can I get PGN? Import. Ooh, that's a short one. All right, copy, learn, study. Thank you, Giganto. Need to practice my Spanish. All right, add a new chapter. Giganticus. Paste, create chapter. All right. It was Gigantobear. So no London system. You got a mix of openings there. Let's do Astrobate first from the black side. So E4, C5. I'm gonna have to turn on the air conditioner. I'll just freeze. Better to freeze than suffocate. That's like Trump. Trump was talking about windmills again. Then he started talking about whether it'd be better to die by shark or electrocution. Like, I don't know what you're talking about, bro. Would you rather... We had this already. Shark or electrocution? I haven't really thought about it, you know. I was jokingly saying I would rather be electrocuted than... I think I'd rather go by shark. It's more interesting. Everybody dies by getting electrocuted. I mean, it's such a common way to go. You know, sharks really don't kill very many people. Many more people are killed by hippopotami than sharks every year. Exactly. So you want to go by shark. Knight of 3, okay, Astrobate, I've told him to mix it up. So he plays the Accelerated Dragon, and he's been playing a lot of Knight C6. But he has a tendency to get... Crabs. Crabs don't kill many people. That would be really interesting. Would you rather go by shark or crab? Has anyone ever been killed by a crab? That's a serious question. Small children, maybe? Babies? Alright. I don't know. If anyone's actually been killed. Maybe like an Alaskan king crab has killed like a small child or something in the history of the world. I don't know. Alright. I'm just kind of in a funny mood. I already have my coffee. We're gonna get serious here. So when we play Knight C6, what are we concerned about? Number 1, Rossalimo. And number 2, the freaking Alapin. Those are the two evils that can happen here. Anything else is no problem at all. I mean, the main line Sicilian is still, we're going to go back into Accelerated Dragon. So only two bad things that can happen are the Rossalimo and C3. And as long as he's not facing that, he's in good shape. So white plays Bishop C4. This new move, the so-called Baudelaire, inappropriate against everything but D6, really. Playable anywhere, but you're playing a closed Sicilian with white now. Death by crab. I'm not reading anyone's comments that are more than one paragraph long. I'm just telling you now. We have a 1 paragraph limit. And I can't even see. I can't read, like, type. So, I'll just forget about it. Here you have a wide variety of options. But E6 is our main one. So the Baudelaire is primarily bad because it gets nullified by the pawn on E6. But Astrobate understands that. He has a lot of practice here. He plays E6. We're all just... Scientists say that, you know, we're all just like... We're going to go back into being crabs again. Devolving. We're just slowly devolving back into crabs. Very important scientific fact. E6. Knight c3. No, seriously, in all seriousness, various animals have devolved into crabs, like 5 times during the history of like the Earth or whatever. Crabs is very popular. I'm sure Chess Zebra, Dr. Chess Zebra can verify this. Separately, crabs have evolved like 5 different times. Crabs are symmetrical, you know, they have to be optimal. Anyway, e6, knight c3. So, all right, we're facing the Bodler. White plays knight c3. He's stopping d5. You should play a6 probably, but Acerbate doesn't really incorporate that. This is our best move at this point. Acerbate, there's no need to play e6 and g6. You know, I think you're trying to do too much. When you're wearing like too loud clothes, they call it doing too much, like the Larry David. Larry David calls it doing too much. G6 is doing too much. You're wearing like plaid pants with like a striped shirt, you know. G6 is totally doing too much. Weakens the dark squares. Yeah, it's not necessary, you know. We already have a way to develop our bishop here. But Acerbate knows there are some structures where you do both. But a6 is best. So he does g6. Okay. So here's the thing. How bad is it? It leaves knight b5 open. It's probably not as bad as you think. So Chapo Zoltan, 1999. He's an old man who used to play at the Hungarian Chess Federation in like the bottom FM group in the 2000s. He's probably gone. Pretty old. He was pretty old, even back in 2000. G6, D4, best move, right? Acid test. C takes D4. Now, occasionally you run into kind of weird gambit ideas, like knight to B5, maybe with some sort of bishop F4. I would say you take that. You would take that happily. Black could just play A6. So knight takes D4 is probably best. That's what your opponent did. Now, as pointed out, there's knight B5. Dr. Chip Chance, also accelerated dragon player. No, I don't think this. You didn't refute his opening, but Black's position is probably not bad. It's probably equal. Probably equal. Maybe White has some small pull. I don't know, but I think Black's still okay. Maybe I'm wrong. Now, I've been known to be wrong sometimes. So bishop g7, knight b5. Bishop g7, knight b5. Yeah, I mean, actually, we might be in trouble. Sometimes these things aren't that bad. Maybe you can play d6 here. But again, if we try to play d6, you run into these sort of Grand Prix attacks type stuff. Maybe White can take on c6 and play like queen d4. Volker Schneider, I don't remember him. Must be some German. Shocking, huh? Bishop g7, knight b5, and the guy played bishop b5. If you have to do this, you know, you're screwed. Or at least you have a bad position. Sorry, I'm fixing the fan. So, generally speaking, Acerbate's had to do this before, but if this happens, you know you've done something wrong. That's a pretty good sign. But, you know, maybe we have something more dynamic here. I think that Black could try to combine in this position. First of all, to play d5, to try to hit him with some shot that buys some time. We might have some in-between move, you know, like knight e5. Right? If we play a6, he can take. Even that might not be that bad. I'm 99.9% sure that d5 is the best move. You've had this position a lot. But I don't know. I mean, do you really want to like let him into d6 with check? If you play a6, he's going to take on c6 and play this dry thing again. I think this might be the best move, bishop g7, but I'm wondering about if knight b5, then d5. What's up, Mr. Huffy? So, ooh, +2. Way worse than I thought. Wow, it's totally lost. All right, that's way worse than I thought. So I guess that's safe to say then. It's safe to say that you're right. That a6 is better, but this position shouldn't be allowed. I think white is solidly better after this. You know, you're already like in a bad endgame with black after knight takes c6, I would say. Best case scenario is a bad endgame. All right. Well, all right. Volker Schneider didn't survive. So here, bad move. So I thought Asprey was going to get away with this, with some sort of d5. But his opponent plays knight takes c6. This is not a problem. White just sold his whole position down the river for almost nothing. You could be slightly worse. Okay, you could be slightly worse after d takes. White's going to try to come into d6 probably. But he didn't get much on this move. See, there's even games here. Bostian Benko. I don't know any of these people. Azerbaijan had a game like this not long ago. But I mean, knight takes c6 is a really bad move, typical. Giving away most of his advantage. B takes c. Please. Freezing me now. Alright. Yeah, see, queen d6 played 2 games. White does this. What are you doing? Alright, Astrobate. Now, I need a reason, I need a reason to not play d5. Another nice move you have here is the fan favorite bishop a6. Okay, everybody here knows that knight e2 is a bad move. Like, it's slow, it takes pressure off the center, it has no point. He was afraid he might get double pawns. But I think the really interesting question is, like, okay, what should we do? Bishop a6, trading off our bad bishop. This looks like a good plan. Takes, check, bishop d2, queen takes a6, bishop c3. But is it optimal? I would still like say black is way better after knight f6. So that's one option. Your other option is the solid d5. And then most people will be noobs and like trade, check you on b5 and let you trade off your bad bishop on d7. And then it's like a Schieber-Spieler type position where you're better, slightly better, but lasting advantage because of strong pawn on d5. This pawn is like the pawn from hell. And it should remain forever, almost forever, until the endgame when it's still strong. But Astrobate plays knight f6, encouraging his opponent to part with a pawn with the blunder e5, which he doesn't fall for. Now f3, d5. He doesn't play d5 still. Good, fine. Wait for him to hang a pawn with e5 check. Castles, and now he didn't fall for it, so he goes with d5. Very good. Takes, and then c takes. There are some exceptions where this is a good move, but I don't think this is one of them. We almost always want to take toward the center. I don't know why my air conditioner will not turn off now. It's acting really weird. Bro, what are you doing? This is in this case, I don't know. These pawns here, controlling these light squares, I think I want to take the other way. Jesus, it won't turn off. Somebody call Jesus. My air conditioner will not turn off. Did you hear that double beep? I just realized it beeped twice. I don't think double beeping is a good... Oh, maybe it is turning off. All right. Double beeping is not good. So, now what? proverbial central pawns. You got a very good version. This is probably justified here. E5. Astrobate, you were just quoting Spassky earlier. Before, about hanging pawns. These are effectively not hanging pawns because they're actually part of this larger structure. But they're sort of segmented, almost like hanging pawns. Possible frontal pressure here. Mr. Coffee's here. So, I like it. As long as White can't put pressure, he doesn't have enough pressure on your position. Bishop g5 doesn't do anything. You can check and win a pawn now. I mean, I think this isn't greedy. I think it's just good. You know, check here, take the pawn. You win a pawn and you wreck his pawn structure. And White doesn't have any real compensation. Having said that, h6 is fine. White should not give up his dark square bishop. That's their better bishop. They have 4 out of 6 moms are on white squares. You know, typical Sicilian, where most of the pawns are on white squares. They really don't want to have just trade off the dark square bishop for nothing. So bishop f6 is a horrible move. You could take either way. This is a developing move. You're still threatening queen b6 check, and then c3. This is the best move he played the whole game. No, I'm just kidding. At least he's putting some pawns on dark squares. But Aspect should check and take the pawn, you know, immediately. And then a5, not a bad move. Eventually you found it. White has rook f2, kind of a funny move. Takes. We luckily have a square to go to. That's important. That's very important. Queen d2, because he'd taken away your only like escape route with queen a4. White's totally dead. And now, you know, okay. Double attack, that's easy to defend against. So you could play bishop e6, but winning a piece is even better. Queen takes d3, queen takes a8, takes, check, rook f1, queen b5. Maybe he won't see it. He didn't. Okay. Yeah, this was a massacre. Nothing to see here. Nothing to see here, folks. Yeah, I don't know what the fastest mate is. On bishop takes h3, White has queen g5, which looks quite solid. There's also, no, that's the only move, right? Bishop takes h3, queen g5, double exclamation point. Yeah. It's mate in 2 after bishop takes h3. But this isn't mate in 2, is it? Oh, it is. It is mate in 2 anyway. So very good. This is a more forcing version, because if you take here, that's only mate in 3. So that's true. Yeah, it's good. Queen takes f3 check is mate in 2. I didn't realize it. Nice. All right. Yeah, I'm very bad with mates in 2s and 3s. I did a puzzle streak yesterday, and I got to 72, which isn't too bad. But, you know, the mates in 2s and the mates in 3s are the ones that really, like, mess me up. All right. That was just a little warm-up. So we're going to move on now. Mr. Slow? Mr. Slow? Mr. Slow's here. Mr. what? Mr. Ivkov. Ivkov. So I did a little bit of research on Ivkov, and I found out some interesting things. No, Ivkov, Borislav Ivkov, of course, famously played in, he famously played in which tournament? Zurich 1953, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Am I mistaken, or am I right? I think he played in Zurich 1953. So, the funny thing about Ivkov is that, although he has a Bulgarian name, Borislav Ivkov. I'm sorry, that's a totally Bulgarian name. Bulgaria borders Serbia, you know. So I assume there's a lot of people. But, you know, because I never really encountered Ivkov and Ivkov references too much, except for Zurich 1953, you know, he's outside my realm of knowledge. So I always just like assumed he was Bulgarian. But I can't know everything. I had heard this at some point, but he's Serbian. So he was a very strong player. He grew up in Serbia. Maybe his family was Bulgarian. I don't know. But he won the Belgrade championship at like age 14 or something like that. Very, you know, talented. To be champion of Belgrade or something with a very young age. And the other interesting thing about Ivkov... Yes, I remember now. So I was like, oh man, I've never seen Ivkov, whatever. He probably died like a million years ago. It turns out, and this is wild, you know, if I had been playing chess in Serbia, I probably would have known this, but I'd only been there once. Ivkov only died in 2022. This is crazy. He was alive until 2022, so probably he was 88, I think. I was thinking, oh, he probably died 20 years ago. But in fact, he passed away just in 2022. So that's pretty recent. Maybe COVID got him. What is that, Jeff Bezos? Thanks for the gift sub from Anonymous for Dr. Chip Chance. So my camera does this all the time. I don't know why it does that. It just goes fuzzy. Fuzzy Wuzzy was a bear. Fuzzy Wuzzy was a giganto bear. Oh, that's a lightsaber? Or a balloon? Okay, so the informator, Sahovsky. Chess informant. My chess informant collection has been a little stagnant since around 2005. I think I stopped collecting chess informants. So I did some commemorative books on Ivkov. Anyway, so thank you for the donation, Mr. Slow. Mr. Ivkov, 2828. So we're up to 1958 now. We passed 1953. We're up to 1958.28. Going for 3,000. So I can get a higher rating than Magnus Carlsen. Alright, so anyway, Ivkov is black against Geller. Yeah, so it's right there. November 1933 to February 2022. He was 88. Anyways. Borislav. So E4, another place I saw some Ivkov games was Kotov's book, Think Like a Grandmaster. I mean, I've seen Ivkov games over the years. So E4, C5, Knight F3, D6, D4, take, Knight F6, Knight C3, A6. White plays Bishop E2. This is Geller's go-to. Geller before Karpov. It's funny because Geller was I would say he's quite an aggressive attacking player, but he was very traditional in the white side of the Sicilian. So he didn't really go for the long castle lines. But I also think it's a product of his generation. Because honestly, like, I said this last game, but Spassky and everything in the 60s, even the 50s, but especially in the 60s, I think this variation really became like the go-to line in the Najdorf. And so before 60, it was probably still kind of main line to play Bishop E2. So Geller was always happy to play these lines. E5, I like E5. You know, I think it's Black's best move. Although I don't play the Najdorf properly. Richter Rouser. It's not a Richter Rouser. You know, Bishop G5 is only a Richter Rouser if black plays the classical Sicilian. So this is just a, you know, it's similar to the Richter Rouser, but black's played A6, not Knight C6. So Bishop G5 was like largely considered to be the main line of the Najdorf prior to 1988 or something like that. I would say before the late 80s, this was considered main move. So between like 1960 and 1990, Bishop G5 was main line. Then the poison pawn variation started to come into fashion. Fischer and Kasparov, obviously, both played poison pawn with black. But anyways, history of opening. So Bishop E2, E5. E6 is riskier, playing Scheveningen. Yeah, so now people play more Bishop E3. That's what happened in 1988, you know. Well, anyway, around that time, say the early 90s, Bishop G5 started to not be played so much, and so people started playing, yeah, Bishop E3, exactly. This was almost never seen back in the days when this game was played. Maybe they overrated, I mean, I don't know, I'm not an expert. Maybe they overrated the value of like Knight G4 or something. I don't know why Bishop E3 wasn't played a lot prior to 1990s. Yeah, it's very, like, exactly. It's very possible this move was kind of like assumed. Because it's like, it's actually quite good against Bishop E3, but not as good against A6. So the theory of Knight G4 has, it's largely like going back and forth, you know, but I think it's not considered a completely reliable variation for black necessarily. Anyways, Bishop E2, E5. I think if you had to win, maybe E6 is better. It's more fluid, but it's also giving white more space and more dangerous. I.e. like Perenni Bela. Well, and not as dangerous here as the Perenni attack. But still. Alright. Bishop E2, E5. Yeah, I mean, E6 isn't so dangerous. White can't really do, like, G4. It's a move. I don't know what the deal is with that. It's like a watered-down Perenni attack with the bishop on E2. How does this go? If G4, D5 immediately. Very few games. Interesting stuff. Anyway, alright. Not a topic for today's game. E5, Knight B3. There's also Knight F3. Knight F3 is like way safer, but a completely different type of plan where we're blocking the movement of the F pawn. So Knight B3 leaves this F pawn free to move. That's the main plan. Bishop E7. There's also Bishop E6. He does both. So this is exactly like the last game we saw against I don't remember. Najdorf. So the last game we looked at last week, was it Najdorf? Najdorf was one of them, where we saw the same exact line. F4. Threatening F5. The question becomes, like, how big a threat is F5? So if F5, does black A, retreat the bishop back, B, go to C4 somehow, or C, like, trade on B3? C is almost always bad. In order for B, we have to protect C4 with, like, Queen C7. Otherwise, we're going back. But sometimes back is okay. You know, sometimes going back is surprisingly resilient. Black can pull the bishop back to D7, go to C6, and put pressure on the pawn from the other side. So, although it seems passive to retreat the bishop D7, that is a thing in some positions. E takes F4 seems fun. Well, what's not fun is like white having access to the D4 square for his knight, which is a side effect of playing e takes f4. From my perspective, that's like the biggest, I don't know, the biggest like feature of this move. It gives white access to the d4 square. Otherwise, the knight on b3 is quite a badly placed piece, I would say, in a lot of variations. But I think the e takes f4 is the kind of move that, you know, you'd prefer to play it when white has already moved their bishop. Though black has quite a resilient score here with that move. It's playable. White gets to play this in one move, like a queen's gambit. Bishop takes c4 in one move, sort of thing. So black plays queen c7, no rush to castle. And so now, you know, we have f5, king h1. I think like bishop e3. Maybe bishop e3 is a way to keep the tension. What are you going to do, though? Take with the rook on f4? Some people have played g4 here. That's really insane. If white plays g4, I mean, I'm definitely taking on f4. So, I don't think like a safe style player is going to play g4 in this position. Geller restricts black's ability to play b5 by playing a4. I think this is the exact same as last game. So, Arsenal fan, for the Geller game last week, you didn't analyze bishop takes b3. I didn't think it was good according to the engine. I mean, maybe I didn't go over it, but I thought the computer concurred. Bishop takes b3. In after a4, you mean? Try effect. This is like a massive positional concession. That's goodbye by white squares. But I mean, I think that white has to be a very skilled player to make that really, you know, matter. Obviously, will the white square bishop come to c4 and seal black's fate? Sorry. On the white squares, because f7, you know. So takes here, followed by bishop c4, getting permanent, like, long-term pressure against f7. I mean, I didn't mention it, but that was in f5. I don't know which position you mean. After queen c7, f5. Ah. Bishop takes b3. White has a choice now. I still would take with the a pawn. But my concern is this. Long term. The computer likes white, you know. But computers are notoriously good about playing with a bad bishop. This is a very active, potentially active bad bishop. I would say in a practical game it's playable, but, you know, most players are going to not do that. A4, it's apparently, this is a match. It must have been a candidates match. Karpov was already world champion by default at that point. It's funny that world champion was 2,700 before rating inflation. So anyways, a4 restrains b5. Black plays knight on bd7. Now, we can play f5. You know, maybe in this position there's one example. Some random correspondence player. This is the best bishop takes b3 we've seen so far. C takes b3, knight to c5. Possibly even d5. That's funny though. Most people are not going to do that. Bishop c4 is... It's a weird move in a way, because we are like trading our good bishop for white's bad bishop. You know, there's an idea behind what Arsenal fan is saying, that you'd be like effectively trading for the knight and leaving white with the bad bishop on the board. A typical knight or strategy where you're hoping to trade off your dark square bishop for the dark square bishop, and then reach, you know, two knights like dark square play type position. This is correspondence game. It looks like this actually took place here. We saw examples of this. I've seen examples of this. Undermining the d5. There's also like bishop c5. That would obviously be more effective if white had the bishop on e3. We could trade it off. But, you know. But I think that black playing the knight off generally, you know, they're not playing for a draw. I think that black can also face that bishop pair and get tortured in the endgame against a strong opponent. So it's dangerous, but possible. So f5, bishop c4. So this is the game here in 1973. Bishop takes b3 it's definitely a playable move. Yeah, so Geller played a5 last time, didn't he? This is the same exact position. Castles. Bishop takes e4, rook takes e4, because we saw rook a4 against Najdorf. Though I'm not seeing that game here. Rook a4, queen c6. We talked about this last time. The queen can get trapped on c6, more likely than on c7. So I was talking about like knight d2 last time. King h1 is new. So the king was on g1 in the last example. So if knight d2, this isn't really a big deal. There's no checks now. I'm going to assume knight d2 is not a good move because of d5. Black breaks out. Maybe I shouldn't assume that. I think it might be good. So white has no time to play knight d2. Plays bishop e3 here, developing. Black really wants to play d5, but can't. So we can see here a couple of Lengel Bela games, who was very influenced by guys like Geller. He always played, I played Bela a lot in Blitz and a few tournament games, and he always played classical Sicilians with white. Bela Lengel against Tullio Marinelli, who's actually still alive. He was playing in the World Senior team for Italy back in last year in the 65 plus senior group, and one of the first like Italian IMs. Tullio. Okay, bishop e3, rook fd8. Yeah, so this looks like black is at a kind of standstill now. It feels like if black can't get in d5, he's now getting like sealed in. And we start building the, you know, it's like sealing you in the wall, like you've been kidnapped by the mafia and they're now going to bury you inside of your own wall. If we can't break free with d5 or b5, then we're basically going to get sealed in. Slowly but surely, it's going to get worse and worse and worse until black gets tortured. Don't say h5. Bishop d8. You know, they often try to play like b5. Oh, Mr. Coffee. Takes, knight takes, rook takes a6. That's not good. Yeah, I mean, so the rook moves are most common. What other... Knight takes e4 almost works. Okay, that must be what you're thinking. It almost works except for the fact that it completely doesn't work. The real problem with knight e4 is rook takes. Looks like that's a pretty convincing refutation. I mean, after rook takes, knight f6, it's going to take you a while to get unraveled. Get that center moving. Any other suggestions? All right, Mr. Coffee. Good job. Reverse discrimination. H5. H5 is the kind of move that could have already been played in this sort of position. Maybe at an earlier time. Really radical to play it voluntarily now. Of course, there's nothing better. Bishop d8 also. The problem with bishop d8, I guess, is that we have pressure here. So I think the black's already significantly worse. Look at the score. 79% for white. Now we're just increasing the pressure. Queen f3. It's like a Sozin. If black has to play knight f8, he's totally screwed. That looks horrible. Never play knight f... That's like knight f8 in the Benoni or something. But black's kind of screwed. H6 also... I don't see the point of H6, slowing down G4, G5. Is black afraid he's going to get blown away by G4, G5? That could happen if black gets too passive. But I would think like white wouldn't risk that in most cases. So black... This is amazing. Black plays here. And now the ultra positional rook fa1. I don't think even Karpov would play that. I'm just kidding. All right, rook a1. Black can't free himself, man. Totally tied down to d5. Another failed Najdorf. It looks exactly like the last game. So here, the first thing that you think is like, okay, I take it. But if you take, which way do you take? And what about the play on the d file? You take with the bishop? If I could take with the bishop and blockade. It almost makes me think rook a4 is a mistake. I mean, rook a1 is a mistake. Like, rook a1 takes defense away from e4. It takes protection away from c4. But I guess if black plays knight c5, if we take it, like bishop takes, we still can't play knight d2. Can I see something here? What if we put the queen on a different square? Not enough control of d5. So queen f3 is necessary to prevent d5. Black plays h6. Let me ask a question, though. I mean, does our rook have to be on f1? At this point, could we play, like, rook d1? Knight c5. Bishop takes. Pawn takes. This is kind of awkward, but... I'm curious. Yeah, black has too much play. Rook d4. So it's a funny position. You know, it looks like black is really in trouble, but... This is the best we can come up with, is rook a1. We got no way to play, like, bishop takes c5. We can't play bishop takes c5, knight d2. We have no way to protect the d2. So what is he thinking now? We're just going to leave the tension? What about this? So it looks like a problem. Like if we play knight d2, you guys were talking about piece sacrifices before. I mean, that's always a possibility. If knight to d2, knight takes e4, knight takes e4, knight takes e4, knight takes e4, d5, probably not enough. But black can play just d5. Right? That should guarantee black a good game. So, what does white do? c3 has to defend rook on a4. Yeah. I just don't know what to do, you know? We can let black take on b3. Rook f d1. No, e4 is just hanging now. So this feels like it's almost forced. Total transition in the structure. Knight takes d5, e takes d5. So normally this type of development can be favorable for black because he no longer has the backward pawn and white no longer has access to d5 for a piece, but there's a big caveat here. We take with tempo, and so white can take on c5 and reach some kind of blockade position. And that's what happens now. Queen b5, the most active move. Here, here. And so we want to play bishop takes. The most attractive chess games ever played, but what are you going to do about c4? We'd have to play knight d2 immediately in this case. And I don't freaking care about that. But what I do care about, I guess, is this. Black has enough time. Black has just enough time to take out d5. I mean, he's like one tempo short of getting blown away by f6. Like one more move, black's like lost. You know, if I had rook on d1, I think black is strategically lost here. But he's just in time. Okay, that's interesting, Arsenal fan. f6 first. No, that's a cool idea. There are moves. There are moves. f6 is a neat move. Yeah, that's a great idea. So this is cool. Bishop takes e5, takes f6. Wow. Although we really wish we still had a rook on a4. Black has to take. We're going to get to some situation like this, 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 and this. This, and this. Which is... It looks like it's unclear, you know. Black could end up just up a pawn or something. It's not quite enough, it seems like. It's close, though. Really nice idea. So he takes with the knight instead. You know, this is still Still an idea. But this is really nice. It looks like Geller wants to get in c4 and lock it down. Queen g4 protects c4. So if I get in c4 with protected passer on d5, does it matter if I lose a pawn on b2 or something? Because that looks like, you know, really strong. And you're threatening bishop takes h6. So it's like a double threat. f6. Bishop takes h6. It's really like a triple threat. And you can't even take on d5 because of this. Can you? Maybe you could. Ugh. Queen b4. But I mean, you're probably getting destroyed over there anyway, so it doesn't matter. The main point is bishop takes h6. So black goes here. And what is the idea? To defend? Defend laterally? He has bishop f6. Yeah. So he takes and then plays e4, defending with the x-ray. Rook b1, queen e5, and then this. So if white was able to see this position in advance when he played knight takes c5, d takes c5, and played for this position, that's really nice. You see this far, you know you have protected passer on d5, kingside attacking chances, e4 is weak. You lost the pawn on b2, it doesn't really matter, this is weak. White is a huge game. We're equal material, but black is clearly in trouble. d5 is too strong, g7 is weak, b7 is weak, e4 is weak. He plays e3. That pawn is toast. Clearly. It's a distraction. But not for long. Trying to trade queens. He tries to trade queens, so we can't trade queens to give black two connectors. So he plays rook f4 and then attacks the bishop. We have rook takes e3. We can play rook takes e3. Rook takes e3 allows black a trick. Maybe bishop d6 or something. That's not gonna... Is that gonna save him? Queen a1. Oh my god. Back rank mate. Azerbait. Arsenal bait. You're like a computer. Queen a1. He's like a calculator. So no need for that. Rook e4. Okay, so now I'm taking that bishop. Thank God it's gone. And this is like the best black's position has been in a while. Looks like he almost has a chance to survive. What do we got? Equal material, heavy piece endgame. Black's still not mated. But the rook's on the 7th and e3 is falling. So when you really boil it down, what about rook e8? He plays rook e8. Yeah. I would say that's the only hope. Try to defend the pawn. Damn. This is the thing, man. The d5. This is devastating. It's devastating. Protected pass pawn on d5. All endgames are lost for black. It does look a little loose, you know. So black probably thought he was still hanging in there. Queen e4. Queens are the pieces that centralize the most effectively. In the endgame, centralized queen is just brutal. Look at that. And so black has to take, and even on e7 it's very, very strong, controlling like everything, literally. It feels centralized on e7, but I mean, dude, it's in contact with this pawn. It's controlling the 3 squares the pawn has to advance to. How devastating is that? Black's rook is like ridiculous. The rook on c8 can't communicate. Unbelievable. It's unbelievable. So he finds queen f4. Probably only move. Effortless. Like an effortless game by white. He even gives him the f5 pawn. I mean, I would be tempted, you know, it's tempting to play something like queen takes e3, but c4 is attacked. Does that matter? Aren't we worried about the c4 here? So d6 is too strong. Wow. So h3, if queen takes c4, just d6 is too strong. You can't stop the pawn. So he takes this one. It's still too strong. And then elegant move. Black must have still believed he had a chance. You know, this end game. Or maybe queen takes b7. Black still has a chance. He can blockade. This is the killer. d7, hanging the queen. Hanging the queen with check. So we pick up a rook and re-queen. Brutal. Okay, great game. I don't know if I've seen that game. You know, I've only gone over like maybe half or less than half the games in the Geller book. I have it here somewhere. I haven't looked at it since last year. We were going over a few of them like last year. So thanks for sharing, Mr. Slow. Thanks for the donation. We've got more games. So Gigantobear, Arsenal fan, Nefedov, Morales. That's 4. So whoever wants to go first, we'll do, I guess Nefedov and Morales aren't here. We'll do Arsenal fan. Then Gigantobear. And then the rest. Just whatever you guys want to do. E4, C5, knight f3, knight c6, d4 takes. We're white. Arsenal Fanos gave a loss. He lost only in spirit. So Arsenal doesn't really like opening theory so much, so gonna be tough to avoid it though here in this Kalashnikov. I find it difficult to play against. Black plays e5. You know what's weird about this opening? I mean, the Lowenthal was known forever. This is the oldest like Sicilian in the world. But it's funny that it, you know, the Kalashnikov wasn't known, you know, until like the 80s, which is really weird. It's another, I think it comes from Shabanenko. But anyways, so we got a real Lowenthal here with a6. So Ulf Anderson would play this sometimes in Blitz. What your opponent does is probably going to be the Ulf variation is like a very slight improvement on the Lowenthal. Yeah, well, Chabanenko was the same player who invented. I think Chabanenko must have been involved in this. I'm not sure. They started playing the A6 Slavs around the Belarusian players came. Some Belarusian players came to the New York Open in like 1990. 1991. And I remember maybe it was 1991. The first time the A6 Slav and this at the same time. Everybody was like, "What is that? I've never seen that before." It was 1991. So I think it might have been connected to Chebanenko, but I could be wrong. You know, he was a... It's possible it was someone else. But exactly at the same time as the A6 Slav started to get played. Secrets from Russia. A6 is a Lowenthal. So 96 check takes, queen takes, and then of course queen f6. But queen e7 is like the Ulf variation. I'm sure he didn't invent it, but he started playing it from what I recall a lot in Blitz. Anderson used to play Blitz online, and he would always like defend these. It's a great Blitz opening. You could just play it mindlessly. Queen e7, I think the computer actually verifies is better than queen f6. But anyways, so Arsenal fan, it's good on you to avoid the main lines, probably because people are prepared for that. This is objectively the best move. You know, after bishop d6, after queen f6, there's a million moves. Queen c7 is considered best. But I think, like, all variations are playable. Against queen e7, I think you have to kind of take the end game. It looks like everything's playable here, too. I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't say that. I'm not sure. Ivan Chuk played this. Anyway, whatever. That's another story. Knight d6 check here instead. This is great to take your guy out of book, though. And so it's basically kind of like a Sveshnikov. Does it transpose? Well, black doesn't play b5. So the database shows knight f6 and bishop c5 are the two moves. With bishop c5, he would have the option to go e7. Bishop e5 is actually decent. What, are you kidding us? Better than the London system. No, the Ruslimo is good. It's a good opening. But I think, you know, this is interesting. Mr. Slow would definitely prefer bishop c5. We could transpose some kind of weird Sveshnikov. Black hasn't played b5, and he doesn't have to play b5. So maybe, like, bishop g5 looks kind of a little more sketchy now that you voluntarily retreated your knight back to c3. That's something I've seen people do, by the way. Against a normal Sveshnikov, you can voluntarily retreat your knight back. But anyways, okay, so Arsenal fan here played a4. It's an interesting idea. Obviously, like, bishop c4 is possible. There's a game here. I remember there was a really weird game between Yevgeny Sveshnikov. I can't remember who it was. Maybe it'll come to me. Sveshnikov had a game with some sort of weird bishop c4. I don't think it was this exact position. Alright, knight f6, a4. a4 feels slow, but I know that black is in position to really take advantage of it. So it's a trap if bishop b4, bishop b4, bishop c4. You don't do that. What this reminds me a little bit of is an O'Kelly. I'm thinking, can this transpose to an O'Kelly? But no. How would it possibly transpose to an O'Kelly? But it's extremely similar to the O'Kelly, because black has played a6, and there's a lot of variations where the bishop's coming to b4. So you get the same themes from the O'Kelly. When I used to play the O'Kelly, I'd get this all the time. People going bishop c4. Then you take here, and they have these traps based on like bishop takes f7 or queen d5, etc. So this probably doesn't work. You know, black can defend with like knight to d6. Or maybe it's just like lasting compensation. It looks like a Frankenstein Dracula variation or something in the double king pawn openings. So when you played when he played bishop b4, I thought you probably would consider this. Maybe you could sacrifice a pawn, man, you know, with black. Like d5. He could try to sacrifice a pawn. Anyway, that's not your choice. So you played bishop g5. I wanted to go back a step, by the way. I want to go back a step. I had this weird sensation that since your knights are like backing each other up, it almost feels like bishop e4 loses some of its value, but I guess not. He doesn't want that knight moving. If he plays like bishop c5, your knight is free to go into d5. So you can still do this. I have no idea what's going on here. Queen b6. This is crazy, you know. Maybe you wouldn't play bishop g5 here. Now, you certainly don't have to. Here you could just play like bishop c4. There's no necessity to play bishop g5. Yeah, so I think here he has an interesting gambit with d5. Whereas here, let me see. Does this make any sense? If you take, he takes with the queen, and he equalizes, at least. But you could take on f6. And now it really is a pawn sacrifice. It's playable, apparently. Wow. So that's black's best move. You know, one thing that I find very instructive, it's like the Steinitz gambit in the Dutch. If the opponent can do what you're trying to prevent, then it kind of refutes your setup. So black here, he didn't sense his opportunity, you know, to kind of try to refute your entire setup. Instead, he plays the dogmatic h6 now. If he can do the impossible, then he's good. You know what I mean? So d5 works. But how exactly does it work? I can say instinctively I think this is a good move, but to prove it is another thing. So bishop takes f6, queen f6. Now you can take on d5. Pawn takes d5, knight d4. Black has his initiative, you know. He's got very active pieces. So I'm not surprised the computer thinks that black is better. But it's not easy, okay? Bishop d3, queen g5. This is just one variation. This is just one variation. I mean, it would be a very complicated game. I'll show you guys a funny position. Check this out. This is analysis from today. I just want to show a wild position I analyzed today. e4, e5, bishop c4, knight c6, c3. Black plays knight f6, d4. Is this right? No. Knight f6, queen e2. Knight f6, queen e2. I hope I'm getting this right. d5 takes, knight takes. Yeah. This is crazy. Ready? d4, And now black plays bishop e6. And now white has two moves. White can develop with knight f3 or try to take the pawn on e5. So if white tries to take the pawn, now this position, there is a concrete move for black that leaves him with an advantage. And if he doesn't find said move, he's worse. So that's like, this position is a good example of how concrete chess is. Like, if you can't find the computer move in this position, yeah, how do you find that? Arsenal sees it instantly. Dude, that's crazy. You saw it instantly. This is the move. This is better for black. If you don't find it, you're worse. You know, I just don't think that even like strong players would necessarily find that move, you know, over the board. This is an incredible move. So, obviously not related to what we're talking about, but it kind of is, you know, because the whole evaluation hinges on finding this really tough move that has a lot of tactical permutations and stuff. You can't, you know, you can feel like, okay, I think black has the initiative here, but prove it. You know, you have to play it perfectly, and your position is a little bit like that too. With bishop g5, like, I feel like d5 should work, but that's not enough. Like, I have to be able to calculate, you know, all the way, confidently and accurately. Otherwise, I can't play this move, you know. Otherwise, I'm like your opponent, and I'm not a computer, and I have to chicken out and play, you know, some lame h6, which is what he did. And now instead of being slightly better, he's probably slightly worse. Right, a bit of punishment. It always worked. Now you have solid control of d5. Black's bishop on b4 is going to have to answer a question in a minute here, right? Castles now, what is the bishop doing on b4? So now the double knights kind of make that bishop look stupid. He missed his chance to play d5, but it was hard. So this is a reasonable try from your opponent, guarding d5. But white is better. Objectively here, though, I don't think you have anything better than what you did. Only other move I could see, yeah, he's actually threatening. No, I don't know. You could play maybe queen d3. I don't have any other suggestions. Knight d5, bishop d5. So it's like a pretty good Sveshnikov for white. If you don't play c3, how do you develop your pieces? And obviously we consider moves like a5, queen d3. b4, I don't know. You could wait and pulling the trigger with that move. That move could be controversial because you're going to be maybe later the c pawn could be backward or something. I don't know. All right, b4. Maybe it's good. d6. We got a really strong lock on the d file. Will b4 be will it be a controversy later? Will it give black counterplay at an important moment, you know, where otherwise you'd be just better? We'll see. Yeah, rook d8 is a bad sign for black, but you're threatening knight takes d6, so what can you do? Maybe king h8. I'll be honest. I guess if I have to pick between, you know, rook d8 and king h8, I'm playing king h8 100% of the time. Rook d8 is a bad placement. He doesn't want to do that. This is a better move. But I still think you have a pretty strong position. So rook d8, he's locked down. Here, bishop e6. And then, you know, you're better. But maybe black can get some counterplay. Anyway, b5 by white. Oh, wow, what a controversial idea. b5 by white, very controversial idea. Tried to seal that bishop in, but black will put the bishop on c5. But maybe the space is worth something. I would say it's something to consider. I think that b5 is like kind of anti-positional. You mean b5 for black? Is somebody suggesting b5 for black? No, but we're threatening knight takes d6. But I think that black should definitely play king h8. Now there's no counterplay, but black figures their position is still okay. You went here. I'm not really convinced by that. It looks like your advantage is rather small. So probably black is hanging on here. And then I think this is still relevant. You know, a little bit of counterplay goes a long way. Black's trying to hang on. There's the counterplay. He has some rook c6. Obviously pressure. You lost a pawn. It's only temporary. This is going, this is going. So what's this? You lost this game. Well, okay. Here, I mean, did you do anything wrong? We have to actually consider all of our options here. What about c4? I mean, is this out of the question? I'm kind of curious about c4. You know, even besides the trash compactor, this is kind of a cool trash compactor. I mean, you could even take this way, and black is like suffering here. They're certainly never winning. You know, I mean, they can grovel for a draw. They can only grovel for a draw at best. So, you like miscalculated. And now that backwardness on the C file. But I still think you're probably not lost here, even after losing a pawn. So which pawn should you take? If you take on e5, black takes on b4. Looks like you're probably losing there. So you have to take here. And now can this be saved is the question. His A pawn is powerful, but also the black king is going to centralize now. So at this point, maybe you should check him. It's a funny move, but I wonder is rook d8 check, king h7, rook d6 back your best move. If you check him away so his king can't approach the center, maybe that causes him to have to spend some time here. I don't know though how dangerous a5 is, how fast his pawn is. I mean, I suspect you're in trouble. Let's see what the engine says. It's lost. It's just lost. You can't save it. It's just straight up lost. That's brutal. Wow. You just immediately lost. Ironically, rook takes e5 was better. I did not sense this. So I'm assuming you're like lost here, but you have an idea that I didn't see. So after rook takes e5, rook takes b4, we're looking at like rook e7, but then he's taking here. I just thought, okay, you're dead. But maybe there's one last chance. You can go here, give him the second pawn, and play like e5. With two rooks back Even though he has 2 connected passed pawns, is there any chance you could hang on here? Maybe. Well, there's definitely practical chances. But I overlooked this. You know, I would have definitely done what you did. But it looks like objectively rook takes e5. Yeah, this is like the last chance. Rook here, rook here, rook here, and e5. Still, you're probably lost. But yeah, not easy for black. Maybe. I would have taken here and thought I still had chances to hang on. This is brutal. Your best chance is rook d8 check. So here he's just approaching the center. I think it's going to be pretty easy for him. Now it's too late. You're just lost. Okay. Yep. All right, that's a painful loss, but you know, probably fast game. 5 minutes. No, 10-0. 10-0. All right, Gigantobear. Now, ironically, Gigantobear is playing Gigantobear's opponent. So what's the chances of that? I mean, what is the chances? Like, seriously. It's incredible. I mean, you're named Gigantobear, and your opponent is named Gigantobear's opponent. The chances of that are like one in like 5 million. Unbelievable. The standard time control of 90-30 with 30 minutes. Oh, isn't that a beautiful thing? God. That's the other reason why I refuse to play in the tournaments here. They try to do faster and faster. So there's no time for endgames. Yeah, the standard time control is best. The 30 minutes is like the minimum to play like a normal endgame or something like that. I still lose on time. But I tried to talk to organizers and tell them to like have a second time control, but nobody cares. So we have e4, c5, knight f3, d6, and the Magnus Carlsen variation with bishop b5 check. This you know, it's funny, this line was never really popular. It was always around, but until Magnus came along, it never really had any great players adopt it, you know, as a thing. People would play it from time to time, but it was always kind of like a secondary variation. Your opponent was what? Was an IM? RIP opponent. If I had anything to do with it from yesterday, I lost in the first try against you. Alright, so bishop e5 check. I'm not going to say what I prefer. But opponent played the most aggressive move, knight d7. So you should be well prepared for this. This is active in the sense that black wants to play for a win. Okay, it's not really active. It's a bad word to use. But this is the most optimistic and aggressive move for black, right? We're not going to let you trade on your terms. So it's likely white is either going to have to give up the bishop for the knight or lose time moving their bishop again. But Magnus has a very good record with this, along with Wesley So and other people. See, I think one of the things that changed is the way that Magnus plays this line, where he brings the bishop back in some variations. Whereas in the old days, people that played bishop b5 were like, oh, we're going to go down with the ship and trade that bishop no matter what. So, yeah, so the main line in the old days was always d4. But Magnus doesn't really play this too much. Oh, there are games there with d4 too, actually. So he's played both. But I think that the other moves, like castles, make sense. You know, from my perspective, this makes the whole variation totally more interesting. a6, bishop d3. I would credit like Magnus with that. I don't know who invented it first. Magnus has played some great games here. But I think this revitalizes the system. We're not trading pieces. Knight is obstructing black's development, so it kind of makes sense not to trade it off. So I think that not playing d4 is a very different approach. But a4, okay, that's a normal move against bishop d7. This is like a BOGO. I play this in Blitz. Playing in the style of the BOGO Indian. But I don't know about a4 here. So this is some kind of specialty variation. Okay. Magnus has a bunch of games. I didn't know he played a4 here. I wouldn't think it was a big deal. You know, I would think like black would be fine against a4. It feels kind of slow. But knight d7 is slow. So, but what are we going to do? We're going to play bishop d3? Are we still going to play bishop d3? Because now we can't do like c3. What is this bishop doing? Is it going to c4? What is your bishop doing? Is it going to c4? Is it going to d3? Is it going back to f1? So I don't know this line. Okay, knight f6. Now the pawn is attacked, so you could play like queen e2, like the Bodler. But apparently this is the main move. And so I've never played this position probably with either side. Maybe accidentally. I might have played these moves once in Blitz or something. Yeah, a6. I was thinking about c4. No, it's a really nice idea to come here in some variations. You could get a kind of improved Bodler. I think that's the only retreat square that really makes tons of sense after playing a4. Yeah, we know the e5 is an idea. People do those e5 things in like the d6, knight c3, e5, or in the bishop c4. When people play bishop c4 against d6, they also, in the bishop c4 move 3 variations, they'll play e5 early. So I kind of respect what your opponent does here. Not playing a6 is kind of logical, because why attack that bishop on b5 that's not bothering anybody, you know? I think it makes sense. Another solid move is e6, obviously. This has to be kind of solid. You know, now that you showed me this game, I'm remembering something. Right? Isn't there some sort of variation where white plays like a5, a6, or something crazy? Am I making that up? You know? Where have I seen that? Like, you guys know what I'm talking about? Haven't there been like a5, a6s sort of things happen? I feel like this is an actual idea. It does look a little slow. Maybe later. There's a Kamsky game. a4 very, very godlike. Okay. g6 is a sensible move. And now you did a5, so that's main line. Maybe this is where I saw it. I don't remember. I've never studied, you know, these lines for either color. So this is theory. Alright, so this is where we're going to see a6. Bishop g7. So you can play a6 right away. Magnus even played this in one game. Structurally, it's logical. If black plays b6, they're like in big trouble already. Black has to just leave that there and accept like an isolated pawn on a7. So a6 is very interesting. Your opponent decides to play a6 now. And now where do we put the bishop? I was expecting it to go to c4. What's wrong with bishop c4? Is there some sort of problem with like knight b8 isn't a problem, knight b8, knight c6? There's nothing wrong with c4. So there's 9 games with bishop c4, and white didn't win any of them. That tells me that there is... there might be something subtle wrong with it. It's just not obvious. Carlsen Topalov, 0-1. 0-1, 0-1. Oof. There's something wrong with this move, but it may just have like bad luck or something. It's very unlucky, at the very least. But I want to hear something. I want to see something more concrete. Is a5 falling? Not so simple. There is one game with e5. Claudia. e5 doesn't look right. Sorry, bro. Castles. This is just a standard sort of boulder where we wedge the pawn on a5. I'm surprised that black's score is so good here. There are knight b8s, though. See, that's... Oh, shit. We overextend our pawn and it falls. The goat lost with white. Someone even won a game with bishop d2. Fodor Tommy. Knight c6. Yeah, this is the logical thing to do. Then he got pinned with bishop g4. Arbakov, 1992. He smelled bad. Alright, knight d7. Whatever, that looks very logical to me. But okay, so you somehow know that bishop e2 is like the book move. This is very, very sensible, though. Black has the stupid knight on d7. In order to coordinate, they have to bring their knight back to hit that pawn on a5. b5 compromises black's structure. Nobody wants to do that. Castles. Now d3. Yeah, well, knight's going to b6 if black plays b5 or b6, but the knight sucks on b6. Knight 3 is always a bad square. So b5 or knight b8 or b6 or e5. So this variation looks unpleasant, but the only drawback to white's position is this bishop on e2, which is kind of lame, but who cares? White's score is excellent, you know. And if black has nothing better than to compromise their own structure with b5, we have nothing to fear. A takes b6. There is this Benko-like move, a5. Fancy. So this is very trendy. Look how many games there are. Very trendy variation. White's extremely solid here. I don't know why people want to play this line with black. I just don't really see anything attractive about it. Wow, queen d2. That feels like an engine move right there. That almost certainly was invented by Stockfish. What is the idea of queen d2? To go over here and do like a piece attack? I'm assuming it's not about playing like b3 and bishop b2. That's such a computer-like move. Nobody would play this like on their own, you know. I would expect black to maybe try like h6 or something, taking away the g5 square. Then what do you do? You go here? I mean, yeah, f4. What happens if h6? Can you just suddenly make it an open Sicilian? Like, bam, it's an open Sicilian. Is that the point now at some point? We have e5. Maybe that's even worse. Yeah, this is very solid. It's a very solid structure. You know, you also have this bishop back to d1, knight back to d1, weird maneuvers, like... So this is seemingly an inaccuracy. It's a very natural move. You know, you did that bishop e6 against me yesterday, and let your bishop get traded with knight g5. Of course, we don't want to do that. It's easy to sit here and say, well, queen d2 is a good move, but I'm not sure I would play queen d2. But what do we do if you don't play that? Bishop g5, something like that. Black will just play h6. So I think the most natural square for the bishop is probably d2. That's funny. Isn't this the streamer, Denis Arman? He's like the Mora Gambit guy. It's funny that he would play this. This also keeps an eye on a5. I think d2 is interesting. I'm almost surprised that no one has played d4 in this position. But how bad a Schmid Benoni is this? Black's too active. cd4, knight d4, bishop b7. Probably black's a little too active for us to transition to a open Sicilian. I don't know. I mean, I hate those arrows that are on the board. How do I make those go away? Why are they there? They're in the analysis. Make them go away. Oh, I can do opacity. There. Alright, so I'm just trying to think, what would I play here, you know? If I didn't know theory. H3, you know, that's kind of lame, but it's a move. I don't want to play rook e1 because you want f4, f5 sometimes. H3, you can always play knight h2. It's kind of a weird closed Sicilian. Knight d2. This has been played. Also a move to go to c4 sometimes. Although with the knight on b6, that doesn't make sense. Maybe even b3, oddly enough. You could get to a5. That's why he's going to play a5, see? They go a5. Exactly. Fedorchuk versus Volokitin from 2022. Yeah, so I don't know. It's a tough position. I don't really like bishop e3, but I suppose it's okay. What about this? Where do we go after knight g4? Do you go back? Allow knight e5? Take? You're slightly better. Okay, so what does black do? Bishop b7, queen c7. So that's a novelty. No, I agree. It's probably a mistake for black to play knight g4, knight e5. If anything, this knight is getting in the way of white's ability to move the f-pawn. If black were to play knight g4, I would think the only way to justify that would be to go postal. And something crazy like f5. And if black could really wanted to go nuts, you know, could try something caveman-like. That's obviously not a very safe way of playing with black, but I suppose white's kind of restricted here. You know, maybe bishop b7. I mean, your position is not like your place to do anything really aggressive yourself. You just have like a sound position. But queen c7 is a weird move. It's like black couldn't decide what to do. They wanted to just make sure e5 doesn't happen. I'm not surprised that no one else played that. I don't think it's a terrible move. Now you play queen c1, so this exchange is not really beneficial for us necessarily, because black will probably just play e5 and let you trade. I think this move is overrated. Like 99% of the time, the whole plan of doing like bishop h6, bishop h8. Oh man, I lost a horrible rapid game, like playing like this guy to Jurgen Brushkern once. He just brutally checkmated me on the king side. Bishop, I'll never forget that. Bishop h6. Yeah, the whole thing. Maybe it was something similar to this. I lost like this with black. Very similarly. Bishop h6, queen comes up over, and I'm like, why the hell did I play rook e8 and try to avoid this exchange of bishops? I don't think this is a good plan for black. Black shouldn't care about you trading their bishop off on g7. So, whatever. You know, if you go bishop h6, I'm happy. We also have one last chance to do this before that offer expires. But I just want to say that I think this is overrated for him. And there's a lot of danger now. And you maybe have a chance to do this queen lift here. I think it's strong. Maybe it's a problem with knight g4. Even that I'm not certain, but yeah. I guess knight g4. So he needs time. You need time to play h3. We'll play h3 first. Threaten to play queen g5. I like this. I think black is wrong to play bishop h8 and rook e8. d5, come on. d5? Bro, are you serious? You're gonna like wreck your pawn structure for the rest of your life? I don't know, man. I wouldn't even consider playing d5. I think it's just too bad. Computer thinks it's playable. I mean, are we pressing the panic button here a little bit with d5? But I guess that's part of admitting you have a problem, you know? I'm sitting here on the white side enjoying white's position, but I guess from black's perspective, yeah. Well, he's the one who played bishop h8 and rook e8. I hate it. You know, I hate what black did, and I learned from my mistake, you know, doing this with black. It's not good. Yeah, maybe you're right. But I think she's slow with knight d2. But I guess it's still part of the plan, huh? f4, f5. But now that kind of justifies d5. I like h3 better. It's more progressive. Forward chess. We only move forward. We never move back. Only forward. You made a backward move. You went bishop e5, bishop e2. All right. So he goes for it with knight d2, d5. Now you surrendered your center, which is not obligé. You could try to keep the tension here with like knight to b3. It looks shaky, obviously. So we surrender the center. It's okay. Black doesn't really have a center. Knight takes d5. Now that bishop though is rocking. I don't like that. I don't like that bishop rocking and rolling here. You know. Arsenal suggested bishop f3. Better than my knight b3, for sure. Clear argument for trying to maintain the center. Another option here with knight e4, probably. This doesn't look too bad. Black has a lot of holes. You know. So you think it's okay? Yeah, he has to take with the knight. Okay, it's fine. Yeah, this isn't as scary as I thought. Maybe you're right. The knight is happy on either square. So you're just structurally better. All of your pieces are perfect. He could try to play knight b4 maybe. Resident aliens. It's not a big deal, but it won't be easy to get the knight off of b4. But your position is good otherwise, so that's really not a big deal. If black decides to do that. Yeah, this is a model game. White's played quite well. Although I would want to complete my development with rook e1. You left this rook out. He's not happy. It. Okay, queen g5 now. You don't really have an attack now, except for this. What about knight b4? Bishop takes, rook takes. There is this loose pawn here. It's not 100% clear. It looks like it's still defensible for black. I don't know if I would play knight b6 if I were black here. This is kind of he doesn't like the knight on c4. Okay, it's a different plan. He wants to go for this. Wow. Wow. Combo. Knight takes c4. So we have the bishop pair now. You have a chance to keep the bishop pair. Yeah, I mean, I expected black to play recapture. What's the problem with this move? He's going to lose c5, but he has counterplay here. I'm a little surprised, but he definitely didn't expect you to play bishop d5. Maybe this would be expected. Bishop takes a6. But I mean, the knight is gonna, what is gonna end up on b2? That doesn't look good. So I don't know, bishop takes a6 looks kind of good. What's wrong with bishop takes a6? Ah, he has a computer move here, knight d6. Apparently black is better even though they're down a pawn. That's unbelievable. I didn't see this. There's knight f5. So that's really lucky you didn't do that. It was really tempting to take the pawn. On the other hand, you know, the a6 pawn is weak as it is, so it makes sense. Why do we have to take it? Still black should consider this plan. It also defends f7. But I'm not sure, you know, he was like planning that. This ends up being a really good square for him. Useful. Now you have a beautiful structure. Black should consider c4. If c4, this is unfortunate for you. You know, that queen is kind of misplaced. So after c4 you have to take. And then black takes. And b2 is still falling. I think this is a draw, you know, objectively. You do have these nasty sort of... Yeah, I know. Oh, right away. Yeah, it's just threatened. We're threatening rook takes g6. Yeah, not knight takes b2. That's beautiful. Yeah, that's what we're playing for. That's why black has to do bishop takes b2. Yeah, it looks a little dangerous. I wouldn't give you my light square bishop. You know, I mean, I think that's a very serious risk that black's taking here. 100% I would take back on b7 here. What am I missing? I don't know why he didn't take back on b7. It's very risky to take here. This is a good move by you. And now you're better. This is pretty solid structure, though. Yeah, it's solid after e6. Black's hanging on. White should be a tiny bit better. No losing chances. The unpleasant structure, but c4 okay. If he's lucky, he minority attacks, wins a pawn, and it's still a draw. You don't want to get checkmated on the 7th rank. You had a move there. Oh my gosh. So here you could have played rook c7. But then what? White will double? Instead you played rook a8. Allowing this. You trade rooks. Okay. White stays on the 7th. Here. So you're still fine. Yeah, you're white. He's black. I began to think you're black at some. I start to do crazy things, like thinking you switched colors. You're white. He's black. I liked black for a minute. I was switching sides. So now you're slightly better. Yeah. The bishop's nothing special, though. It should be a draw. The bishop's nothing special with that, the Bodler structure. It's a draw. Now this is kind of adventurous. It's probably a fast game. This was a long game, you said. No. It's a long game. What the hell is going on here? Though. First of all, we have to determine who's playing for a win. You know, and I guess because your opponent is an IM and they're higher rated. But I don't think that black is better. You know, that's the first thing about this position. You got to leverage the threat of a draw very strongly against this kind of like higher rated opponent. Remember that they're terrified of having a draw, but losing's even worse. You really should play as solid as you can to try to get them to go crazy. So queen a5, you're queened up a little out of play. Queen a5. It's possible that g5 is better. You're looking at c3 check. He cuts you off. It shouldn't be a big deal. Maybe queen a1 check is your best move. Feels like you're freaking out a little bit. Safety first. Holistically, your position is very good. There's no way you can be worse. But maybe if black landed a knight on d4, it would still be a draw. You know, even if he could teleport his knight to d4, probably you're still never going to lose. But what I don't really like is like this happening, where he goes rook f4 and you're starting to weaken your king side. Like in a vacuum, it's okay. Like especially if my bishop is like on g2 or something. But I don't really like playing g3 when you don't have your bishop on g2. I think this is very, very dangerous. He's provoking you and you're like weakening yourself. And I don't want to do that here. You know, so I think, yeah, just go back to like, just go a1 check and bring the queen, you know, over to c1 or something like that. So I think you need to like reset and just, you know, kind of play for a draw. Not play for a draw, but just play without any risks. You know, I think that this is already like a little suspicious. Black is desperate, trying to find winning chances where there really are none. But I don't know, g3, if this lands on e5 and something comes into f3, we could regret doing this. I don't know. It's a little risky to play g3. Again, if your bishop's on g2, it would be great. What the heck is that? So they're going to have some combo based on that. They sacked the pawn with c4. They can move the knight. They sacked the pawn here with c4. Oh my god. What? Rook takes c4 or bishop takes c4. What am I missing here? They're gonna get in? How? c5? Queen c5? The knight is not moving for sure. What's his idea though? Like after bishop takes c4? Is it like queen c5? Is that the point? This is what I wanted to know. Very concrete. Does it even work? I have to say I'm a little skeptical. We have to be a little skeptical here. You have rook f4, which admittedly could get kind of messy, or even rook e3. And after this, queen a8 or something. There's just no way this is happening, you know. So you're gonna end up in this type of thing, in that variation. It's a draw, but you can drop the pawn and lose to an IM if you get in time pressure. Yeah, he's bluffing you. This is a bluff. This whole thing is kind of bluffy. But, you know, g3 was dangerous. Okay, rook e4, also dangerous. This is a crazy pawn sack. So rook takes, queen e5, threatening this. Now rook e4, check, king g2, queen a7. Which totally doesn't work. Now he's definitely bluffing. But I don't know if you have to play rook f4 or not. You've got to watch the diagonal with queen b7. There is 95. Yeah, rook f4 seems sort of safe. You have an extreme possibility of d4 here. And then sacking a pawn with d5. Which is distinctly playable. There's a lot of possibilities, really. I think his thing is it's unsound. Though rook f4 might be good enough. We don't want to move any more pawns. Though I guess 95 looks like a threat. You have queen d4 in all lines. So I'm really not a believer in 95. I say you don't touch your pawns. You play the king move. Now. Look, man, no pawns. Yeah, he'll still try to torture you, but let's see. Takes. I don't know what black's gonna do. Play a pawn down. Maybe he can, you know, he can try something. But the point is, like, anytime the knight moves, you have queen d4. So this feels very bluffy. White plays f3, weakening your king side. It's still probably fine. Yeah, I mean, you're tempted to try to win now. Throwing bishop takes e6. Queen d4, and you're better. Yeah, this is a weird move now. Queen b2. Queen b2 is definitely a strange move. The problem is if you get tempted into going too far, you can lose. But why not like queen e5? You also have to remember that a draw is not a bad result against an IM. So don't go crazy. Queen b2. This is a very strange move. Yeah, so you're really focused on those pawns moving. But maybe you're rushing it there a little bit. I mean, this is a good move. Maybe we can go like d4 first. But before I play for a win, I want to make sure I can't lose. Probably. This looks a little funny, like you're putting your pawns in a very awkward position there. Though he can't get out of the pin, so he tries this desperate move. G5. And now threatening, obviously, king G6. I can see the writing on the wall already. I mean, black's going to play knight H5, knight F4, and kill you with, like, queen and knight against king, because you tried too hard to win. You made a pawn bishop. But that's why it's important to leverage threat of draw. You have queen E5 now. That's sick. So queen E5, king G6. This is a very strong square for his king on G6. Like queen E5, king G6, for example. Yeah, you can't underestimate the danger here with the bad bishop and the bad structure and the queen and knight combo. The only reason you can lose is because you're like maybe not distinctly aware of how dangerous this is. Getting overconfident. We're getting overconfident with the C4 thing. You're too obsessed with playing C4, C5. First priority is to make sure we don't lose. C4, G5, FG5, HG5. And now it's all hands on deck. This doesn't work. It looks like, although maybe you can still hold. Bishop D1. Knight H5. It's already kind of scary if he gets in knight H5. Even a pawn up. You know, look at this. Are you like maybe lost here at this point? It's almost lost. Maybe it's not lost, but it's very close. Yeah, you can maybe live with that on F4. Yeah. King F2. King G6, and now, okay, D4, threatening bishop C2, check. Queen D6, and you still got it under control. Make your bishop great again. Ooh, this is scary. So if you run away the other way, it's unclear. Your pass pawn is pretty fast. I imagine that black has knight E8 with blockade. So even if you go the other way, maybe he can't lose if he plays this blockade. I don't think you can break the blockade of C7 objectively. I think you were like trying to win in a position where it was not that realistic. You missed the winning move. I don't know, here. Before, you had a winning move. Well, I don't know, but here I think we have to just try to draw. You mean miss winning move for him? Oh, yeah. You missed the winning move for him. Yeah, no. The whole idea that you talked about, like moving your pawn forward and stuff, was too optimistic, probably. You probably have to just realize that you're only a tiny bit better, and trying too hard to win was what did you in. Knight d5 check. Oops. And so, yeah, there's a fork on b4. And now, what's the point? Yeah, you can't take because of queen takes c2. Yeah. That's terrible. Time pressure. That's a complicated position to have in the second time control. It was a good game. I mean, you never should lose. But I think it's important to not lose your sense of danger. You know, when you played queen b2, I had a bad feeling, you know. This position is like, you've got him, fortunately, in this pin. And so it's pretty hard for black to win, but if you play queen e5, your queen is just murderously placed. You defend everything, and it's like a fortress. Then you can try to inch forward with d4. I don't know how realistic white's chances are to win here, but you definitely can't lose, I think. But queen b2 looked like a weird move. Okay. Thanks for sharing that game, though. Last game's Morales and Nefedov. Nefedov. Thanks, Giga Bear. Yeah, the queen and knight combo is very, very dangerous. You have to realize that black's playing for that, combo against the bad bishop. I won a lot of games like that. Nefedov is white against Just Insane. Very common name. It's a Caro-Kann. So what's our time control here? Casual Blitz Tournament. This wasn't our tournament, was it? No. 300. This is a 5 minute. Classical Caro-Kann. Yeah, I played this once or twice against Nefedov. The knight h3 is his... He likes, and I appreciate this, he likes side variations. So knight h3 is one of those... It's probably better than knight e2 because it doesn't block the bishop. This is the older move. 7 queen c7. Here, knight h3 e6. So it's going to transpose to knight e2. Yeah, that seems to be the move. I'm out of my depth. I do remember bishop d6 being a move, though. I thought this is the way that... I thought this was the way that Dreyev played it. So there's a problem with bishop d6, c3. Not a lot of recent games here. So maybe there have been some new developments. So queen c7 is the move with the best score. So if you look at all those games, I mean, there's nothing there before 2005, 2004. Dautov, the first one. It's a very specific move. This seems to be good. But I don't know the details. I don't understand exactly what the point is of queen c7. Black played knight f6 though, which is very rarely played. So he's walking right into the h4 h5. This is what I guess is the biggest danger. White's threatening h4 h5, and your bishop's going to get attacked, and nothing's going to stop it, and you don't have any pressure on the knight on f4. With bishop d6, you can always play queen c7. And queen c7 is another way of playing bishop d6, queen c7. It's just you're reversing the order of moves. If you play queen c7 and white plays h4, you play bishop d6. So it's like you played bishop d6 first. It doesn't matter. And then on c3, it seems to be the point is you can switch plans. And there's even a few games with knight to d7 here. But mostly knight f6. And now if h4, we go bishop d6. Queen f3, knight on bd7. h5, bishop c2. This is very deeply prepared Caro-Kann theory for black. You know, this variation is also interesting. Maybe bishop c4. What about c3 right away? That's a thing too. So knight f4, knight f6. This is definitely a mistake. h4, bishop d6. So what's he going to do after h5? This has happened in a couple of games with Matlikov. So Matlikov doesn't seem to mind this. Bishop takes f4, pawn takes g6. So black can't do that. You can do the old bishop f5, knight takes f5, queen a5 check, queen takes. I don't think I've ever won a game with black in the Caro-Kann. That's why I quit playing it. So this seems to be... I played this guy years ago. It's an old Hungarian. Shimoni Zoltán. Bishop f5 is the move, apparently. So black doesn't play queen f5 check. Okay, so that leaves you with... I probably did this in a blitz game or something. It leaves you with the queen that's like getting kicked around. It's actually better to take with the e-pawn. It's hard to like black's position, but it looks like it's not that terrible. He gets an endgame. Queen check, bishop e7. If you had to win, you'd have to play bishop e7. Yeah, it's pretty ugly for black. Black, I guess, just doesn't know the theory, so he gets slightly worse. Nefyadov's probably played this a lot. And ironically, this game from 2012 isn't even that old. Probably some kind of Hungarian team championship. This guy was pretty weak even back in like 2000, whenever I played him. He's got to be pretty old by 2012. This queen g4 is... That looks stronger than the other guy's move. Attacking the base of black's position. Queen f3 looks okay, but you know, it's like a one-move threat. This is more in the heart of black's position. We're attacking g7 now. This has to be, and Nefyadov knows what he's doing. He's played the same line all the time. This has to be better than queen f3. He knows this already. Probably had this position already. Knight f6, queen takes g7, rook g8, queen h6. I mean, black's position is... The queen is trapped with bishop f8. Not a problem. Oh man, so what do we do? Our queen is trapped. We have to play knight e6. I don't understand. Bishop f8. Knight e6. Bishop takes h6. No. Pawn takes e6. What the hell is going on here? Does Nefyadov have full compensation? No. It's not even close. Oh man. So taking this pawn might actually be a trap. Oh no. White's got the two bishops. I think the white should be better. Is queen g4 possibly a mistake? Well, you can always just go back. I mean, knight f6, whatever. If this doesn't work, okay, fine. Then we don't take it. You know, go back. Now you can play queen d1. Then in that case, we don't move the queen out. We just play like c3 or something. Maybe the guy was right. So what happened in Petkovic? Did the guy take on f4? No. Black played knight g5. That's ridiculous. Black's position looks horrible after knight g5. That really looks horrible. I would prefer to take here. This is really bad too. So queen f3 is literally better. So Nefyadov played queen g4 and went into his own trap. He trapped himself with queen takes g7, allowing bishop f8. Ah. He missed this. Wonder if he intended to sack a piece here. If he saw it and intended to sack a piece. Knight takes e6, queen a5 check, bishop d2. That doesn't work, does it? No. You can't do that. You just have to recapture. White doesn't have enough compensation. I'm sorry. I gotta go rook g8 first. Sorry. Here. Knight takes e6. Takes. Queen back. But in a blitz game, maybe you would have some practical chances. Yeah. Yeah, this is just lost. Wow. Nefyadov went right into it. So queen g4 is surprisingly a mistake. I thought it would be a good move. It turns out to be a blunder. Queen g4, and then black misses. He misses bishop f8. That's unbelievable. He misses bishop f8 and plays knight on bd7. Now Nefyadov, you allowed the second move. If Nefyadov comes to a senses here, he can play knight to d3, threatening to bring the queen back with queen e3. And now knight g4. Oh no. And we're still trapped. No, you have that. You have queen d2. Nefyadov did not sense the danger. Now this still works. Ugh. Still not good. Black played this. Hanging h7. Then you're still trapped. So if you take on h7, you're still getting your queen trapped. So he sacks a piece with knight takes c6. It shouldn't work. The queen's trying to get out. Knight takes h6, knight takes d8. Here he gets a few pawns for it. We were expecting queen takes e6 check, but black has queen e7. So he's got this. It's threatening the rook, but black has knight f6, and now you can take on b7. That's not clear. That doesn't look good for black. But there's bishop g6 check. Oof. This is a big problem. And in all variations, did I say this? I have this check. Oof. That's not good. So queen takes h7, king f8, avoiding bishop g6 check, and now rook h3. The master of attack. Nefyadov's like Tao. Brutal. And now bishop h6. It is cute. It is cute. Time to hit the road, as they say. So, can I put up any resistance by running away? Is it too late? It works. Unbelievable. King e8 still hangs on for black. Wow. I would have played it. Yeah, nothing's wrong with king e8. It's the only move. But black panicked. They panicked and took here. And that's some kind of hallucination. Well, I guess they thought they had king f7 or something stupid. Maybe they thought they had king f7 and forgot about bishop g6 check. I don't know. And then it's like, okay, now you just like lost. You lost the game. The king is too exposed. Rook e6. And bishop f5. Sloppy game by Nefedov. But we learned something interesting. So he traps the guy. The first thing is really weird. How few games have been played with bishop e4. So the best move here for white was found by neither player. It's h6. It's alpha 0. Yeah, black can close the lines, and he should close the lines, it looks like, with g6. But it looks like this original move is good too, and even possible is bishop d3. So bishop f4, black tries to grab a pawn. It's a good gambit for white. This is instructive though. So Nefedov encountering, a random weird variation. Queen g4 looked good. It looks good. I thought it was good. I thought it was good for sure. And it's surprising how black can trap the queen by retreating his bishop. Oh. Yeah, I was talking about this variation. That's not so good. You got to get the right position, I know. I'm a little tired. Okay. Rook g8, queen h6, and yeah, it's easy to miss that. Typical Nefedov, too optimistic. Okay, last game, Morales, our VIP. One of our many VIPs. Thanks, guys, for supporting the stream. I got one more game to go. So Nefedov is done. We've got... Thanks, Nefedov. Oh, another Caro-Kann. It's Caro-Kann theme day. Yeah, all those pawns are poisoned. I thought it was just b2. Alright, so c6, d4 here. I thought it was only poisoned if black takes it. I didn't know they're all poisoned. So d5, e5. I never take the b2 pawn in the Caro-Kann. So this is this is a special variation of Nefedov. Sorry, Morales. This is Nefedov's Nefedov's. Yeah, sorry. We just finished Nefedov game. I'm a little tired. 5 games and it's martini time. And I didn't eat dinner tonight. Yeah, so this is some kind of really weird move. Bishop e3. It's like Kuprechik. Well, it's not such a weird move actually. No, bishop e3 is known. There's also the knight d2, which is similar in nature. So bishop e3, e6, and then knight d2. Yeah, this is, he can transpose too. It's a modern line. So did I have this position with black? Just once. I'm not a real Caro-Kann player, I just play one on TV. I have a horrible score with Caro. I think I won some Panov maybe with black. Once I won a main line against the 2100 or something. I can't play the Caro-Kann. Knight d2. I played bishop e4 here. That was a bad move if I recall. This is a very stupid game. This is a very, very stupid game I played like 6 years ago. Bishop e4 is ridiculous. Not a good novelty. Shockingly, that's been played in 3 games, but I'm certain it's not by good players. Oh, Christian Bauer played this. He was having a bad day. Yeah, I don't like bishop e4. So knight d7. It's as usual, knight d7 or knight e7 or queen b6. I hate going after that pawn. Speaking of poisoned pawns. So this is where we get to the Morales variation. g4. So Zvygintsev, 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 Zvygintsev. He's a former student of Dvoretsky. I met Zvygintsev way back in the late 90s. And creative player. Plays a lot of interesting stuff. I don't know what he does now. Bishop g6. Is this a standard? I'm surprised I didn't have this position against Morales. Oh, I was white. I was black. Here's one. Yeah, I did have this position. Okay, so same game I had 2 years ago. We did have it once. How bad could bishop e4 be? Could be like catastrophically bad, but I don't know. I see dead white squares. My instinct is to take it, but f3 is a distinct possibility as well. But I think that both are interesting. Yeah, it's never been played. Well, there's only 8 games. And it's the only other move that doesn't lose by force. I think that bishop e4 is better than bishop takes c2. Well, f3 might not be a bad move either. It's a free tempo. We weaken our position slightly for a time. So this is a while ago. I had this game with Morales. I played 97 here. The other players all played f6. So if h5, I think h5 needs to be considered. No? Is it too slow? h6 looks passive. If h5, knight f4, can we look at that for a second? h5, knight f4, bishop h7, one of those. Can I just sacrifice a pawn? It's not enough. This is an issue. Does black have any counterplay here? You don't have to play h5, absolutely not. No, I just like playing controversial and dangerous moves. I mean, white, yeah, I mean, you can wait until white plays h4. But you need to do something. The rules say that black has to do something. I don't know, it's just like, on the one hand, I don't want to commit to f6. I mean, h5, it's a typical attacking plan against this bayonet. Yeah, white could go there too. Arsenal likes that a lot. White likes playing g5. So c5 is more combative. Directly. There's a problem with bishop e5 check though. So if takes, we have this, which is quite sharp. I have no idea what's going on there. So c5 is a... Let's check the Lichess Opening Explorer. Quite a few games. Wow! c5 is the most common move on Lichess, and we know that's it's a very reliable database. But h5 is the third most common move. What's interesting is that f6 has been played far less. People are always like brainwashed by this like they're brainwashed by this anti-f6 like fish. What's his name? Feingold. I quite like playing f6. I quite like saying quite like f6 in the Caro-Kann. Sometimes I'll play f6 on the third move just to challenge myself. You know, because people like never expect you to do that. There's this guy that plays this. Dmitriev. It seems like totally insane to play f6, but it's quite fun. So here, Morales just plays c3. So I was wondering if we take... It's really bad. Wow. That's horrible. Okay. Never mind. So c5 is a good move, and c3 is good. And now queen b6. Now it really feels like a Kuprejcik. Queen b3 just doesn't feel like it's in the spirit of the Carol Khan. Advanced variation. So sad to play that move. Now we have to convert to like positional play. No attacking. And here we expected pawn takes. Pawn takes has to be okay. Black was hoping for pawn takes, so bishop takes seems to change the dynamic here. Black didn't have to play pawn takes pawn, by the way. Well, black didn't have to play queen takes queen either. What happens if c4? This happens. It could get crazy. No Masters games. Where did we leave book here? There's no Masters games in this position. That's really weird. Where did we leave book? So, c5 has literally not been played over the board. There's only like 10 games. And it's a good move. There's nothing wrong with c5. And now Morales is already, he's still prepared. Queen b6 now. The computer likes knight e7. But my question is on queen b6 now, queen b3, does black have c4? And how good is it? Personally, I don't like it, but it looks like it's not that bad. Takes, f4, h5. This is... Wow, f5 kills him. So h5 is bad. Yeah, black has to play f5. That's very awkward. It still may not be that bad, though. That's the kind of move I would expect to get over the board. So queen takes a8 should be good for white. This is probably not bad. Now, knight e7, knight c6. Black played bishop c5. Bishop c5 is a weird move. It's like, what does it do? Is he going to just trade? What does it do? He's going to trade on d4? But he plays f4. Yeah, of course. Guarding e5. So I can take back with a knight on d4. Now a very provocative move. Bishop d3. Not developing our pieces. Here I wasn't sure. Black still has Arsenal fan ideas, like bishop e4. I wasn't sure what white should play here. But Morales wants to maintain d4. Maybe it makes sense. Knight f3. What about h5? And obviously, what about bishop e4? So I don't know. Is knight f3 right? Because I'm not really feeling it. I feel like this knight is doing its job. You know what I mean? But especially e4. Rook g1. I like the rook where it is. Rook c1. Spoken like a true... You're playing the London system too much, man. I don't know. I'm just a caveman. Even f5 is playable. How bad is f5? White is slightly better after f5. Just saying. I don't think this is an easy position to decide what to do. But first of all, I want to develop my pieces. Secondly, you know, it looks like e4 is weak. So this is kind of controversial to me. Just leaving e4 completely weak. Black makes a really strange move now. Knight h6. That's like weird. Blocking your h-pawn. Putting knight on a crap square. No here, where it's centralized. No bishop e4. Oh, knight c1. I thought you said rook c1. I was making fun of you for playing the London system. That's more like it. Knight c1. Okay. Yeah, knight c1 I would accept as a reasonable move. I thought you were like rook c1. I was like, what? Okay. Knight h6, terrible move. This is where black starts to go under. I mean, what are you doing on bishop e4? We're just going to go like bishop g2 or something? Yeah, I agree. Bishop e4 is probably just a stopgap. It's probably not great. This is horrible, though. What did he do to his knight? And all the time Morales wanted to take with a knight on d4. Now he got it. And black can at least get the other knight to e4. Now he wants to put his king on e3. I thought this is simply good. It might be better than playing knight g5. But I guess this does prevent f6. Who knows, though? Maybe black could try to play it. I don't know. Those knights are getting driven back. This is only going to be like a one-shot deal. Yeah, Morales is very good with this sort of spatial attack. I've lost games like this against him. Correct. Knight b6 is nothing. Knight b6 is always bad. Just b3. Black's lost. I think he's lost. It's terrible for black. And this isn't going to help. Ugh. I think like here you have multiple good moves. Beautiful pawn. It was a slaughter. Now you could probably still play b3. No big threat. Oh, that's devastating. So rook f8. Black has to play knight d7. Now knight e6 and rook f8. Exactly. Still threatening rook f8. Now what are you going to do about it? Now he has to play king g8. King g8, only move. So what happens on king g8? We're just playing knight c7? Oh no. Or knight d8 even. Oh, even worse. That's even worse. Oh my god. Either way. Oh no, so he had to play that. And then they missed this. So we got an extra knight now. Knight up. Good game. Alright guys, it's martini time, so have a great night. I'm going to get some dinner, and thanks for sharing your games with me. Thanks for Anonymous for the gift sub, and Mr. Ivkov for the donation. We'll be back tomorrow. Short Blitz stream every Friday afternoon, around 12:30 to 2:30, 2:45. So we'll be there for that, and I'll see you all there. Thank you to Giganto Bear and Arsenal Fan and Asterbait and Mr. Coffee and Mr. Slow, Nefidov, all of you guys. Appreciate you tuning in, being regular victims of my stream here. I hope we learned something.